Welcome to this edition of the Weekly Dose, Challenge Your Perspective. This is Patrick Dare in Washington, D.C. This ICC thing is eating into our country. It's eating into every individual Kenyan. It is time that this was over. They say that justice delayed is justice denied. And in this case, it's not justice denied to the victims of the post-election violence following the 2007-2008 elections. But it's also justice denied to those that have been accused. Every time you hear of ICC that, ICC this, ICC prosecutor says that, there's postponement of dates. It just keeps reminding us of that very dark moment in our country when neighbors turned against neighbors. Friends turned against each other and hacked each other to death. It brings back the wound of that moment when the spirit of Kenya died. The spirit of one people as a country was thrown to the dogs. And what mattered at that moment is that you are associated with this political party or that political party, or you thought that this political party was denied leadership. We forgot to be human beings, and we slaughtered each other. We forgot that we were Kenyans first, and that these politicians that we fight for, really, they don't know you. They don't know you as an individual. But here we are caught in the day-to-day politics of the ICC. The prosecutor said this one time. One of the judges is being taken out of the bench. There's speculation. Sometimes what is needed is closure. As tough as things may be, sometimes as human beings, all you need is closure. When a family member passes away, a loved one passes away, you know you've buried them, there's closure to it. As sad as it may be. But think of the moment or those instances where a family member has been abducted or nobody knows where this family member is. For however long, months, years, there's no closure. And with every mention of this family member brings the sadness of them missing without knowing where they are. And I believe this is the case with the ICC right now. Kenyans do not know where it's headed. You read about speculations, and at this point, they're just speculations. We do not know. The accused may be innocent, and they are really. Until proven guilty, they are innocent. But we also have those that have the real pain of having lost loved ones, that need closure, that need to know that justice has been done. I believe they'll accept whatever justice comes out of the ICC. But as a country, I believe we need closure. And so It is time the ICC body got their act together. If the accused have a case to answer, please hasten it. If they don't, drop it. Because the unintended consequence of this delay upon delay, I believe, just keeps poking at this wound and is not letting this wound be healed. It's eating at the soul and the survival of the country. When the country is so much captivated by what is happening, I don't know whether it's functioning correctly. When you're worried about how things are going to turn out, as human beings, and I know from my own point of view, when I'm worried about something, I think about it very deliberately. It eats at my mind. Some other things sometimes are put on the back burner. And with all this happening, the two principals not knowing what their fate is, I don't know whether it's helping in advancing our country on the development side, because there's distraction. People around them are distracted by what might happen to them. The whole country is distracted because of the unknown. We need closure. And we need it quickly. So I'm calling upon the ICC to get its act together. Because the unintended consequence may not be pretty. It's causing more and more animosity, I believe. Because every time you hear accusations being thrown, who took who to the ICC, who campaigned for whom to be taken to the ICC, the witnesses that are being tampered with, who is bribing whom so that they don't testify. And yet, both the accused and the victims would like to have justice come to be known. My dear fellow Kenyans, yes, this thing occupies our minds. And yes, we need closure. And at this point, I would like to ask you also not to forget about the very victims. You learned, or you've heard about this woman who carried her husband's head all the way to go and bury it. We've seen the gruesome pictures of that period. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that the people that we fight for don't know you. Yes, they seek for your votes when that time comes. But you as an individual, they don't know you. And so before you lift your hand to strike another Kenyan, think about that. Think about that. And for the ICC, get your act together. The people of Kenya need closure to this thing. We need to know that there's an end to it so that this wound can start to heal. Because the longer you take this, the more you're poking this wound. That is my perspective. What's yours? This is Patrick Dare in Washington, D.C.